The galaxy had never known peace for long. For centuries, it was one conflict after another, with fragile alliances forming and dissolving like sandcastles in the tide. But the war with the Krevlaks was unlike any before it. The Krevlaks were not a species prone to negotiation or diplomacy. Towering, spiked, and unrelentingly aggressive, they expanded their territory through brute force, razing planets and enslaving populations. The Galactic Coalition, an uneasy alliance of diverse species, had struggled to contain them for decades, losing world after world to their relentless advance. Humanity had only recently joined the galactic stage, introduced to the Coalition as a species from a small, temperate world called Earth. They had arrived with curiosity and open hands, eager to explore and learn. The Coalition, though initially wary of the newcomers, quickly recognized their value. Humans were tenacious, resourceful, and surprisingly adaptable in the face of alien cultures and technologies. But it wasn't long before the humans found themselves embroiled in the war against the Krevlaks, their idealistic hopes of peaceful exploration dashed against the brutal reality of interstellar conflict. The humans quickly proved themselves capable fighters, their ingenuity and determination earning them respect among their allies and fear among their enemies. Still, the war seemed unwinnable. The Krevlaks were unyielding, their massive warships and bioengineered soldiers outmatching even the Coalition's best efforts. The battle for Celeria Prime, a strategically vital moon, had raged for weeks, with no end in sight. On the bloodied surface of the moon, trenches scarred the land, and the air was thick with smoke and ash. Coalition forces, including human soldiers, huddled in makeshift shelters, exhausted and demoralized. Among them was Private Anna Mercer, a human medic who had volunteered for frontline duty. She was young, with sharp eyes and an unwavering determination that seemed out of place amidst the despair surrounding her. Anna had always been different. While others focused on strategy and survival, she couldn't help but see the individuals caught in the conflict, the soldiers, the civilians, even the enemy combatants. It wasn't in her nature to hate blindly, even when the enemy was a Krevlak. On the third day of a particularly brutal offensive, Anna found herself separated from her unit. The battle had moved elsewhere, leaving her stranded in a ruined sector of the battlefield. As she searched for a way back, her gaze fell upon a Krevlak soldier lying in the dirt, its massive frame twisted unnaturally. The creature was bleeding from a deep gash across its torso, its crimson scales dulled with grime and soot. It was still alive, though barely. Anna hesitated. Coalition protocol was clear: do not approach wounded Krevlaks. They were too dangerous, even in their weakened state. But as she stood there, watching the creature struggle to breathe, she felt an overwhelming urge to act. "Damn it," she muttered under her breath, slinging her medical kit over her shoulder. The Krevlak's golden eyes flickered open as she knelt beside it. It growled low, a sound that would have sent most beings running, but Anna didn't flinch. "Stay still," she said firmly, her hands already working to stabilize the wound. The Krevlak hissed, its claws twitching, but it lacked the strength to fight her off. She worked quickly, applying coagulant to the wound and wrapping it with gauze. When she was done, she leaned back and exhaled, only then realizing how close she had come to death. The Krevlak stared at her, its gaze unreadable. "Why, help," it rasped, its voice deep and gravelly. "Enemy." Anna shrugged. "Because you're hurt. And because I can." The Krevlak didn't respond. It simply watched her, its expression shifting from confusion to something almost like respect. When Anna returned to her unit, she didn't mention the encounter. But the story spread nonetheless. Soldiers whispered about the human medic who had treated a Krevlak, risking her life for an enemy. Most called her reckless. A few called her brave. None of them could have predicted what would happen next. 3 days later, a ceasefire was declared, a rarity in the war. Krevlak representatives had requested a meeting with human leaders. The coalition was suspicious, suspecting a trap, but the humans insisted on attending. Anna was chosen to accompany the delegation, though she wasn't told why. The meeting took place in a neutral zone on Celeria Prime. Anna stood with her fellow humans as a group of Krevlaks approached, led by none other than the soldier she had treated. Its wounds had been hastily patched, and it walked with a noticeable limp, but its bearing was as proud and imposing as ever. The Krevlak spoke, its voice resonating through the air. "I am Ralzek, commander of the 3rd Battalion. I have come to speak, because of her." It gestured toward Anna. The humans exchanged glances, stunned. Anna stepped forward cautiously. "You remember me?" Ralzek tilted its head. "How could I forget? No one, Krevlak or otherwise, has ever shown such madness." It paused, as if searching for the right word. "Or courage." Over the next hours, a tentative dialogue began. Ralzek explained that Anna's act of compassion had challenged everything he had been taught about humans. In Krevlak culture, strength was revered, and mercy was seen as weakness. Yet Anna's bravery had forced him to reconsider. The talks that followed were slow and fraught with tension. Many in the coalition doubted the Krevlak's sincerity, while the Krevlak struggled to overcome their deeply ingrained hostility. But the humans, with their characteristic persistence, refused to give up. They shared stories of their history, their culture, and their belief in second chances. They even invited Krevlak delegates to observe human traditions, including their peculiar habit of befriending dangerous animals. The turning point came when a Krevlak delegation visited a human outpost. A massive, cat-like predator native to the planet prowled the area, its fangs bared and its eyes glowing with predatory intent. The Krevlaks watched in shock as a human soldier casually approached the beast, scratched behind its ears, and laughed as it purred contentedly. "You tame this?" one of the Krevlaks asked, incredulous. The soldier grinned. "Humans can pet anything." The phrase became a symbol of the humans' unique approach to conflict resolution. Slowly but surely, the Krevlaks began to see humanity in a new light. They weren't just warriors or strategists, they were something else entirely. They were the species that could look past fear and aggression to find common ground, even with their enemies. The war didn't end overnight, but it began to wind down. Skirmishes gave way to negotiations, and hostilities faded as understanding grew. And it all started with a single act of kindness on a war-torn moon, proving that sometimes, the greatest strength lies in compassion.